Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite English podcast. It's Emma here, and I'm so excited to be joined by my co-host, Mike.
Hey everyone, so glad you're here with us. Today's episode is going to tackle one of those little things in English that honestly drives so many people nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, have you ever found yourself wondering, why do we say at the bus stop, but on Monday? Or why it's to the store? If that's ever left you scratching your head, today's the day we clear that up.
Exactly. Prepositions might be small words, but they're like the glue that makes English make sense. Without them, we'd all be lost, right?
Totally. So we're going to break it all down for you, one step at a time. How to use prepositions for place, time, and direction. And hey, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more great tips coming your way. So, before we get into the details, let's start with a few guiding words to help us navigate today's topic: how prepositions fit into time, place, and direction.
Guiding words.
All right, let's dive in. So, what exactly are prepositions? They might seem like tiny words, but they pack a big punch in English. Think of them as the words that, connect things in a sentence. They show relationships between other words.
Yeah, like if you say, the book is on the table. On is the preposition. It's telling you where the book is in relation to the table.
Exactly. Prepositions can tell us where something is, like at the store, when something happens, like on Monday, or even the direction something is going, like to the park.
They're these little words that do a lot of work. Without them, our sentences would feel, pretty empty, right?
Totally. So, understanding prepositions is a huge step in making your English more natural and clear.
All right, so why do prepositions matter?
Well, they're actually essential to making our sentences clear and meaningful. Prepositions show how different parts of a sentence are connected, like pieces of a puzzle fitting together.
Yeah,
Think about it. Without prepositions, we'd have a bunch of words that don't quite make sense together. They're like, those little bridges that help our ideas flow.
right.
Prepositions add depth to language. When you say, I'm at the coffee shop versus I'm in the coffee shop, it gives two very different pictures, right?
Right.
So, learning how to use prepositions correctly can really help you sound more natural in English and avoid, some pretty common mistakes. All right, everyone. Today we have a special guest joining us, Sophia. She's not only an experienced English teacher, but also someone who has a knack for making tricky grammar topics, like prepositions, easy to understand.
Yeah, Sophia's got some incredible insights on language learning, and she's here to share her own journey with English. Sophia, we're so excited to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive into this topic with you both. Prepositions were definitely a challenge for me when I was first learning English, but once I got the hang of them, it made such a difference.
That's awesome, Sophia. We can't wait to hear more about your experiences and tips. So let's get into it. So we are going to break down some of the most common prepositions and how we use them in everyday English.
Key phrases and uses of prepositions.
We'll start with prepositions of place.
Yeah, these are the ones you see all the time, at, in, and on. They might seem simple, but knowing when to use each one can, make a big difference.
Yes.
So, Sophia, what's your take on this one?
So, for example, we use at for specific locations, like at the office or at the bus stop. But we'd use in when we're talking about being inside a larger space, like in the city or in a room.
And then there's on, which we use for surfaces, like you'd say on the table or on the wall. It's all about where something is located in relation to its surroundings.
Right. It can get a bit tricky, but just practicing these in context can make it feel, a lot more natural.
Right.
Now, moving on to prepositions of time. At, on, and in again, but used differently. Like we say at night, on Monday, and in September.
Yes. It's all about timing. At is usually for specific moments. On is for days. And in is for longer periods, like months or seasons.
And finally, we have prepositions of direction, which tell us where something's going. To, from, and toward. Like, I'm going to the store, or coming from the airport.
Exactly. Knowing these basics can really help you add detail and accuracy to what you're saying.
All right. Now that we've covered the basics, let's bring these prepositions to life with a little story. This way, you can hear how they work in a real conversation.
Perfect. So here's a quick scene for you. Picture two friends, Sarah and John, catching up after work.
Let's see how they naturally use prepositions as they chat.
Hello?
Hey, John, are you still at the office?
No, I just left. I'm actually on my way to the cafe near my apartment.
Oh, nice. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. I was just at the park enjoying the sunset.
Great. I'll grab us a table outside on the patio. It's perfect for people watching.
See how those prepositions just fit right into the flow?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it shows how we naturally switch between prepositions of place, time, and direction without even thinking about it.
Let's rewind a bit and catch how those little details made the scene come alive. It's amazing how just a few well-chosen words can paint such a vivid picture and make us feel like we're right there with them.
Just from a few words, we could follow exactly where John was and where he was heading. It felt like we were right there with him.
Yeah.
Exactly. These details might seem small, but they give us such a clear sense of location and movement, almost without us realizing it. They're essential for smooth, natural-sounding conversations.
Right. And it shows how easily we can understand what's happening when words flow naturally. Just using simple phrases like at the park or on the patio helps everything click.
Absolutely.
Precisely. It's all about building confidence with these words, so they come naturally when we speak. And once you start paying attention, it becomes, much easier to pick up on the right words to use.
So the more we practice, the more second nature this all becomes. Let's keep going and see how else we can strengthen our use of these key words. Now, let's talk about how these small words can actually change the meaning of a sentence.
How prepositions shape meaning.
It's fascinating how just one word can create a totally different picture.
Yeah, like if I say, I'm at the beach versus I'm in the water, just swapping one word paints two completely different images.
Exactly. At the beach gives the idea that you're nearby, maybe on the sand, enjoying the view, but in the water tells us you're right in the ocean, swimming or maybe splashing around.
Exactly. And think about phrases like to the store versus at the store. One shows movement. You're heading there, like I'm going to the store to grab some groceries. The other shows location. You're already there, like I'm at the store now, checking out the produce section.
And if you look at on the bus versus in the bus, when you're on the bus, it sounds like you're traveling, like I'm on the bus heading downtown. But in the bus makes it sound like you're inside a parked bus, maybe even as a visitor or waiting for something. Or even something like on the list versus in the list. On the list shows that something is included, like your name is on the list of invited guests. But in the list can give the sense of actually looking inside a specific part of the list, like it's somewhere in the list of items.
It's amazing how just a small change can make such a big difference. Understanding these nuances can really help us express exactly what we mean without any confusion.
Common mistakes with prepositions.
Now, let's look at some common mistakes people make with prepositions. Let's start with one of the big ones.
Right. The first common mistake is confusing at and in for places. For example, people sometimes say, I'm in the library, when they really mean, I'm at the library. Using in gives the sense that you're inside the space, almost like you're deeply involved or inside the main area, whereas at just tells us your location without getting into the details.
Exactly. So if you're standing in front of the library or near it, you'd say at the library. If you're already inside reading a book, then you're in the library. It's a subtle difference, but it helps to create a clearer picture.
Great point. Now, let's look at another common mix-up. On and in with transportation.
Yeah, we say on the bus, on the train, or on the plane, but in the car. For some people, it feels natural once you get used to it, but it can be confusing when you're starting out.
Right. And it usually depends on how we think of each mode of transport. With buses, trains, and planes, we're more on board. But with cars, it's more of an enclosed space, so we say in the car.
Perfect. So on to the next one. To versus in when talking about movement and location.
Yeah. If you say, I'm going in the store, it sounds like you're already at the entrance or even just stepping inside. But if you're simply on your way, it's, I'm going to the store. That too shows movement toward the destination.
Exactly. It's a small tweak, but it makes your meaning a lot clearer.
All right, and finally, let's look at prepositions for days and times. People often say on Monday instead of on Monday. Remember, it's always on for days of the week, like on Monday or on Tuesday.
Just a small change, but it makes all the difference in sounding fluent.
So these little details are easy to overlook, but they're worth practicing to really polish your English.
Practice tips for listeners.
All right, so let's talk about how you can practice using these prepositions correctly in your daily life.
One simple tip is to pay attention to prepositions in conversations around you, whether it's in movies, TV shows, or podcasts. Notice how people say things like on the bus or at the store, and try to use them in similar situations.
Exactly. Another idea is to make up your own sentences. For example, try describing where things are in a room, like, the book is on the table, or my keys are in the drawer. Practicing these little sentences can help a lot.
And if you're out and about, try narrating your day to yourself. Say things like, I'm at the coffee shop, or I'm heading to the gym. The more you practice, the more natural it'll feel.
Great tips. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's part of learning. Over time, these prepositions will start to feel second nature.
Tip of the day.
All right, it's time for our tip of the day. Today's word is listen. Listening closely to how native speakers use prepositions can help you understand their natural flow in conversation.
Yes, try listening to podcasts, shows, or even everyday conversations, paying special attention to phrases like on the bus, at the store, or to the office. Noticing these details will help them stick.
Exactly. Listening is such a powerful way to pick up on patterns and get a feel for the language.
So remember, whenever you're listening, keep an ear out for those little prepositions. It's a great way to improve without even realizing it. All right, that wraps up this episode. For our takeaway, we've covered a lot about prepositions today, how they show us location, time, and direction, and how even a small change can impact meaning.
Yeah, and we also talked about common mistakes to watch out for and ways to practice, like using our tip of the day to listen for prepositions in everyday conversation.
Remember, these small words might seem tricky at first, but with practice, they'll become second nature. Just keep listening and practicing whenever you can.
Exactly. And if you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it to that one person who needs it. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on upcoming episodes. We'd also love to hear from you, so leave a comment below if there's anything you'd like us to cover next time. See you next time, everyone!